All right, there's 11:30. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we won't keep you guys longer than necessary. So again, I'm going to try and keep this relatively informal. We're introducing Algo Studio Pro's newest versions. Now, some of you, this may be your first introduction to ASP, as we like to call it. So I'm going to do just a very brief little background intro, and then we'll get into some examples. But of course, the focal point today is some of the new features that TDI Dev, or when as many of you know them, added over the last, really a couple of weeks. So this product's been out in the market for, I think, 4 or 5 months now. Um, this is a beta version that we're showing you. It's not completely bug free. We bumped into a few bugs just this weekend. So one thing you'll find about us and about Erwin in particular is that he's very diligent and deliberate about identifying bugs. A lot of times we catch them from member feedback, but there's a constant progression of improvement with certainly with this product. There's so much complexity to it. You can imagine the bug hunt is substantial, but it's certainly to the point now where we can demonstrate it here and give you the ideas behind it. And so with that said, let me just go ahead and get started here. I'm trusting you guys can all see this here. Now, so as we start here, I'm going to just go. I've got a brief outline here. So again, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a very short history of us, and then we'll go into some of the features here, a couple of examples. I've got one. I'll probably create just a simple one just to demonstrate the process of creating an algo for those of you that are not familiar with it or haven't seen it. And then we've got a little webinar promotion here that we'll do to offer you guys as you're nice enough to invest some of your time looking at this product. So if those of you that are interested in an investment, you have that option and you'll save a little money. Now, just one thing to be sure that everyone's aware of, all of our products, well, I think it's 80 plus now. Every product we produce is available for a 7-day free trial, everything including Algo Studio Pro. So know that, right? If you see something you like here, you can certainly demo it, and that's 7 calendar days. So you're sure to get 5 trading days. Now, whether you could do a full evaluation of the product in 5 days, I mean, you're going to see there's a lot of depth to it. No two people are going to use it the same way, which makes it kind of interesting. It's uniquely designed that way. So there is no right way, wrong way to do anything. And we're not here to demonstrate or put in front of you highly profitable algos. That's not the business that we're in. We're in the business of creating tools to allow you to create your algos. So I think you'll recognize that as we go through that. We want to just show you the tools that are available, what you can do with it, and then let you get creative as you will. So just to give you a little background here, because I've developed the Trade Devils brand over the last, it's been almost 7 years now. And there are two distinct divisions here, and you might run into that if you were just to go to Google and type in Trade Devils. So on one side of it, here's the Trade Devils University that many of you may have been first introduced to us that way, where it's much more of a swing trading approach, right? It's a lot of Elliott wave theory, fib relationships. It's really swing trading. A lot of geometry included as well. Again, some of you may have bumped into some of that content. Again, I've been doing that for over 6 years. But early on in the process, I bumped into pretty much the same as for anyone who's worked for me. Bumped into Erwin Beckers, who is now my full partner in Trade Devils Indicators. And he brought just a wealth of coding background to the process here. And he and I were both shared a passion for day trading in the S&P. And we started noodling around and thought, oh, maybe we could make an indicator that would, maybe help us do what we're doing. And so we made one and made another and thought, maybe some people would be interested in buying some of these. So we put one or two up on the market for sale. And I think we're now 5 years into this, Erwin, with 80 plus products. And I think we're pretty well established now in the market of Ninja third-party providers as one of them I should call better known and certainly full featured in terms of what's available to you. So there is a strong emphasis on day trading in the majority of the products that we make. And I think what you'll find is many of you are probably already experiencing this, that futures day trading has been certainly transitioned into now this prop mania, right? So 95 or if not higher percent of people trading in the day trading in the futures markets are all using prop accounts, right? So it's a different ball game. It's changed the approach to the market. So trying to manage through daily drawdowns and some of the restrictions that are enforced on you as a result of prop firms has really changed the landscape of trading, right? It just has, right? I would be willing to bet you if we polled it, 90+% of you are trading prop accounts. So thus the emphasis becomes, how do I manage drawdown, my daily P&L, right? We see that being very much a focus here. So that you'll see that influence as we create a few algos, because that's so much the focal point of what traders are concentrating on. We do have quite a lineup here for those of you that are going to see what you're going to see today. You won't remember, right? It's what 90% you're going to forget. But we do have quite a detailed list of videos here to walk you through the basics of how to design an algo. Some of this will not include the new features that you're going to see today. We'll continue to update with videos that offer the new features, which are substantial, so that this list will be added. You can always find it on our YouTube channel, just Trade Devils Indicators, not to be confused with Trade Devils, right? That's where you're going to get the other side of the business. But all of this is very ASP specific, and we'll give you lots of good ideas about how to get started and some of the pitfalls to look out for. And again, we continue to add to that list as we proceed. Now, just for a reminder here, just again, I feel like I have to emphasize this. We do not sell algorithms, right? So when I get this on a very regular basis, so does Erwin, we get this in our Discord. Can you please just give me a profitable algo or show me an algo? Or while we will certainly post examples, that's not the business we're in, right? We don't sell algos. We sell tools that allow traders to design and build their own algos, which is what will be the focal point of what we're doing today. So again, remember that the end result here is not about showcasing, oh my God, look at this algo that makes $12,000 in a week. One, that's not realistic, and two, we don't want to create a false assumption about what you can do with a product like this. Algo trading is damn near just as hard as trading on your own, right? They're all hard, right? Anyone who's telling you this is easy money, I would guard your wallet, right? Algo trading is just as difficult as regular trading. It's all going to be difficult. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes back testing, it takes tweaking, refining. You might get a good algo that's profitable for the last 30 days, but in the next 30 days, you might not have the same experience. So it's not a push button, get rich kind of a scenario, which sadly in this industry, there's a lot of that being promoted. Now, with the product itself here, enough of that little background here. We have two components within Algo Studio Pro. There's the algo design, and then there's the actual trading, which is done through a strategy within Ninja. So anything that you're creating within the algo designer, which will be the focal point of this little webinar that we're doing, can just be transitioned, or we just load it into your strategy, and boom, now it's trading. So we're going to keep our focus on the algo design. This is drop dead simple, right? Just load it and decide whether you want to trade it. So there's two ways that we approach an algo here. I'm going to use primarily what I'm used to is the designer here as opposed to the visual designer here. I just find this faster for me to work with. So I can do this pretty quickly, and we're just going to create a simple one just to demonstrate this. Some people prefer doing it this way, where you can kind of drag and drop and do it. Again, it's the same result. It's just we're giving you the option based on how you like to work visually. I guess we could say it that way. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when you're starting with something like this, anything that you have in Ninja can be applied to Algo Studio Pro. So you can use any plot from any indicator. It certainly does not have to be one of ours. Anything that you have on your machine within Ninja that offers properties or parameters that ASP can grab, right? Trend line might be a more difficult, but an indicator certainly makes it very easy because we have all of these to choose. And keep in mind, if we're using something like this is our wicked wave, we have all of these different parameters that are available to you to refine, tweak, optimize, choose with regards to what you're designing into your algo. This is just a particularly good example because you see all of the parameters that you can work with here. Now, if it's an EMA, okay, well, we got period length, right? That's about it. Here, look at all the juicy detail I've got of things that I can work with here. So with that said, then from there, it's a matter of, so if I wanted, so for a MACD, For example, I could use the MACD, I could use the difference, I could use the average, or some combination of those. So again, I'm going to build a very simple one. Just understand that all of these are available to you, but I want to leave this section here emphasizing that for most people, their first thought is going to be to start with indicators. Well, there's much more available to you beyond just indicators. There's all sorts of price action components and parameters that you can work with within Algo Studio Pro, in addition to indicators. We have some people building indicators, building algos with no indicator input. I'm going to show you, just because these will be easier, just in the limited time we have, how to do it with a couple of indicators. But you can do pretty much anything that's within your ninja is available to you if there's a parameter to work with. So with that, let me close this down here. And here, I'm assuming you guys can all see this ES chart here that I have now. I'm going to go hope yes, that's yes. Anybody?
Yeah, we can see it. So.
Okay, good. Okay, all right. So this is drop dead simple. This would be the kind of, let's call this a classic approach here, right? So I've got two EMAs here. I've just done them all in different colors, and I've just got an RSI, right? Just drop dead simple. I am using a range chart. Now, one thing you'll find, whether it's us or any other algo designers here, because we enter at the close of the bar, I think you'll find it advantageous to work with a range bar, because of course, in a tick chart or a time-based chart, a 1 minute candle, right? That could be, no telling how many ticks or points that can go within a minute, and you don't necessarily want to be entering at the close of that candle, right? As you can just imagine some of the potential downfalls to that kind of approach. So much of what we're going to demonstrate here is going to be done in range bars, and many that you'll see within our Discord or others that are working with, they're using range bars. So
yeah,
with
you can use others, of course, but
yeah, I'm not. You can certainly use others. It's just the advantage of a range bar here is that you don't have an entry that's late because you're waiting for a 1 minute bar to close or a 2,000 tick bar to close. Right. So, and perhaps that's just my preference, just with my experience with it. Range bars, because of that issue, can give you a better entry. So let's just go ahead and create a very simple. I do this because if it was me, this is what I would do. I would just start with something drop dead simple here. So as it comes up, we get this working screen here. And let's just go ahead and do something super simple. So always when it opens here, it's going to be blank here, and we're going to add a condition. Now, by default, it's always going to say close of the current bar is greater than you've just got a default that's in here. Close of the current bar greater or equal than the close of the current bar, right? Meaningless. But right off the bat, right, you can see it's already loading it on the chart. So let's just keep it simple, and let's just do something here. So let's go. I want the price, right? So we have an A and a B side here, and we work between the interactions of those two. And then down here, you have the capability to do a mirror image, right, to save you time for efficiency's sake, to the short entry. Sometimes, right, that mirror image may not be what you're looking for. So you kind of got to be careful of that. But for our purposes here, this would be very, very simple. So let's just say we want the bar to close greater than. I'm going to go to new, and now when I go here, I've got all of the options here. So I'm just going to go to an EMA here, and let's use an EMA, and let's just use a 9 period, right? Very popular. Right, so greater than, less than. So here the mirror image, right, works perfectly. Oh, I see, greater than, less than. Great. Okay, right. So here's my result. Here's my equity curve, right? So just trading that by itself, probably not a great idea. Okay, well, so we've got...
it is, just sorry to interrupt you,
oh, no problem,
Sam, but it is amazing that you get real-time feedback here. I mean, every change you make, you get real-time feedback. If it either improves your algo or it makes it worse, which makes it so much easier to create an algo, because until now, if you use NinjaTrader's internal tools, you had to build the algo with, for example, the strategy builder. Then you had to fire it up in the strategy analyzer, which takes a long time before you got any result. And now it's real time. Yeah. So that makes it way faster for you to build your own algo and come up with something which is profitable.
Yeah, he makes a good point. I've been using it for 6 months, so I'm to the point now where I just take it for granted. You mean others don't do that, right? So, right, that's Erwin. Now he's blowing his own horn there a little bit, but there's nobody else who does that, right? So he should blow that horn, right? It's, again, I take it for granted. So that we've got that here. So let's just go ahead and add another one. So okay, well let's do bar closes. let's do that. The first EMA is above the second one. So here, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go EMA. Right now, I know that this one is a 9-period EMA. So I want this 9-period here. I can always check the value here. I know I'm going to go fast through this, right? So you're not going to be able to catch all of this. Again, that's why the playlist places to review, but just we're limited on time here. So I want the 9 EMA to be greater than, let's enter a new EMA. So I'm going to go new here. And again, I'm going to go EMA and say, okay, let's make this one a 21. All right, so I've got a 921, and I just want the 9 to be above the 21, right? So you can see already, here's an example here. They're going below. All right, so we've got that. So we've got those two. Okay, well, let's now add in an RSI. So let's just say here we want, again, I'm going to go new, right? Because I'm telling it, okay, what do I want here that's new? I want an RSI. So I'm going to go RSI, right? Oh, let's use, I think that's what I've got down here. This one that I use. Let's use an 814. We're going to optimize this, right? So we'll just start with that. So let's use that. Okay, that's what I've got down here. So I want the EMAs to be, I want one EMA to be above the other EMA. I want RSI to be greater than, let's do here, I want the RSI to be greater than, let's do a fixed value here of 52. And now below, I want it to be less than, let's do greater than. And here I want it to be less than 48. So here's an example where the mirror image, right, is not what I want. Here I want less than 48 above 52, right? So just showcasing, it's the kind of thing you could miss, right, if you're moving quickly. Oh, wait, no, I want this less than 48. But those are fixed variables here. Again, there's so much depth in here. You're not going to get all of this from this brief little webinar here, but we're just kind of showing you some of the potential of it. So I've got an RSI is above 52, right? Is it getting any better? Well, not necessarily, right? It doesn't look like it's getting all that good. So let's just review what we've got here. The 9-period, right? Just review 9-period is above the 21-period, right? There's the 21-period. Okay, right? So we've got that. I don't want this. Oh, so let's get rid of that. So I want the RSI to be above 58, above 52 or below 48. And here, I'm going to add another condition here. This is for you prop account traders here. This is just to demonstrate, one, this is any of you trading a prop account are going to want to do this, but also just demonstrate that it's not just about indicators. So here I can come down here and I can go to trade. Now, when I hit trade here and type, right, just as we were looking with an EMA or an RSI, when I go on the values here, I've got a drop down of, okay, bar since entry, bar since exit, unrealized P&L, daily P&L, right? This is one that a prop trader would be looking, would be focused on. So let's say we do not want any trading to take place if we are beyond a $500 drawdown. So it's a little bit confusing, right? But what you're basically telling it is, I want you to keep trading until we hit a minus $500 drawdown. Now here, the mirror image, right, works just fine. Because long or short, stop trading if we hit a $500 daily P&L drawdown. Right? So any of you prop traders, right, that's something you want to just, by reflexively, you're going to want to put that in. Okay, now let's just go make an exit template. Now, I don't have to use an exit template. I don't have to. But in this particular case, again, just for demonstration, because I could just run the ATM and have the stop take it out. Or I could use a trailing stop here, which is what I'm going to do. So in this particular case, I'm going to say, okay, I want you to exit if the bar closes less than, and here I'm going to go to new. Again, right, all my options are up here. I'm going to go to an SMA, and let's do a 50. I mean, well, shit, why not? All right, let's do a 50. Okay, so that's our exit. So right now, right, you're seeing a lot of trades on here, but we haven't really designed anything into the ATM. So these are just default values. But you understand, if I push this off, what we're trying to do, you're seeing. That's all right. I know, right? Some things I take for granted, right? So when I have all of these conditions here, so notice that I have an and here. So this and this and this and this have to be present for this to take a trade. I can do this if I have the option here between continuous and one shot. If I do continuous, what that means is that if the condition is met here and it were hit its target, if the condition is still there, it's going to enter the next trade and the next trade and the next trade. right? So thus all the lines here in a row, those all meet those conditions. Well, and you might look at that and say, well, why would I want to do it that way? Why wouldn't I just want to buy once and have it take it out the stop here? Well, that's certainly one of your options. One thing we could consider doing here is just say, okay, I just want a one shot, right? Notice the difference, right? So now all that continuation, but you see, here's the trade-off. Now, per whatever, I don't even know what's in the default here for the target and the stop, you might look at this and say, well, wait a minute. Wait, we got in here and out here, but I missed all of this. That was the trade I wanted, right? Or if I'm going to be in and out here, I want to go back again here. But you see, the conditions aren't met here or here or here or here. They were met here, but now I'm out of the trade. So it's actually a pretty good example to demonstrate here that you constantly want to go back and look at the trades the algo is taking and say, is that what I wanted? Do I want to be in and out here, in and out, right? You can see why it's going in and out. Right? It's up and oh shit, I got a drawdown here. So that's all 169, 169.50 loser, and all of this is missed. Right. So something to keep in mind whether you want one shot or continuous. Right? If I do it this way, right now it all comes back, right? Trade, 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 trade. Now again, it's the same thing. There's always a trade-off, right? So do I want it to be continuing to buy up here? All the conditions are still met up here. Do I want it taking that trade up here at this high after all of this? Well, of course, right? In hindsight, right? You say, well, of course not, right? No, it just stopped out. This is the kind of fine tuning, tweaking, refining. You
see somebody is not muted.
Yeah, somebody's got one of their little ones in the background. All right, did we get that handled?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. All right, so you see, right? You're seeing this happen in real time, right? Again, this couldn't be any simpler of an algo, right? Just drop dead simple. We haven't done any optimization yet. So just to review, right? So I'm telling it what I want for the exit. Now, I don't have to use a stop. I can go here.
So,
okay, here are the conditions.
So basically, Sam, so what you now did is you took your strategy, right? You have your own strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You entered the rules inside the ASP, and now you can see all the trades it's taking and what the results are, and what would be the next step now?
Well, so then from there, I have a number of options here to see, okay, well, all right, well, obviously I don't want to trade this. So how can I make this better? Well, now here's where we get into the ATM and we'll continue to work through these tabs to demonstrate this to you. So here, now this is an ATM that I have full control of. Now, I do not need to optimize the ATM. I can just work with something that I like here. So maybe I've got maybe I'm going to use, let's do something that might be.
Sorry, Mike, can you explain what you mean with optimizing the ATM? Maybe some people.
Okay, sure, right. So what it's going to do, right? If we go to optimize here, we're going to be able to define, okay, what time of day do we want it to trade? And what is the risk that we want on any position? And what's the target? And do we want to use a trailing stop? These are all components that can be optimized within ASP. So as I sit here, so for example, and this is something that is just perhaps unique to me, but this is something that is, again, having worked with this for 6 months, that I make a focal point. The first thing I want to know if I'm testing an algo is, can I get it to be profitable in RTH hours? Because it's much harder to get that. It's easy to just hit all and then go optimize. Right. And you might find something, it's profitable from 2 to 2:30 in the morning, from 6 to 6:30, and then it's at 3:30 in the afternoon, and you have a straight line vertical equity curve. But that's not realistic, right? That's not what we want. What we want is tightly clustered periods of profitability. And if there is going to be a break, maybe you're taking a break between 12 and 1, right? As the volume typically dries down, not always, but typically will dry up there. That might be a refinement that you're making. So for me, right, again, this is just my personal preference. You'll recall I said no two people are going to use this product the same way. Erwin uses it differently than I do, and Simon uses it differently than Erwin and I do. Right? There are no two people are going to use it the same way. But just to demonstrate this, if I wanted to see if I could get this profitable in RTH hours, because I know it's going to be a more robust algo if it will do that. So with this, I might say, okay, I want a 3-to-1 here, and I want a risk reward here of 1.5 or 1.3. Let's do that. I'm getting better, right? The equity curve is better, but horrible, right? In the last half of this, well, I think I've only got 14 days here just to speed it up. Now, what if I went all? Any better? No, worse, right? So going to RTH, okay, I'm going the right direction. Now, here again, I'm just telling it that. Now, I have the choice to optimize all of this. So, staying in the theme here to close at the end of the session. So, I get, i.e., RTH hours. Now, let's go over and see what my choices are to optimize. Now, in prior versions, we only had the option to optimize the ATM. In this latest version, which is the reason we want one of the reasons we wanted to hold this webinar, is to show you what's been added into the optimization. Previously, all of this was here. You could optimize the ATM. Well, now we've added in. Erwin has been in the woodshed for the last couple of weeks and added in all of the optimization for any indicators that we're using on the chart. Now, again, optimization is a double-edged sword. I tend to approach it cautiously because it can get you overly enthusiastic about a result. But it's a great way to refine what you're doing. But don't feel like, oh, if I get a result here and it's profitable, oh, that's what I've got to trade. This is a great idea generation. So what I could do here is now say, okay, you'll recall this is showing you the settings that I have in it as we designed it. 921, the RSI is an 814, and then I've got an SMA for my stop of 50. Right? That's what's built in right now. Now over here on the ATM, look at all the refinement capability I have here. So one choice would be for a target. In this particular case, because I'm using an exit template, I don't want a target. I want none. This is also a new feature that I could use none here. So I don't want it to take me out. I don't want we just looked at that earlier example where it was 4 bars and out. I don't want you to take me out unless I get stopped out. Let it run. Break even. Do I even want to use a break even? Right. Well, that might be okay, where I could do that if I was using a 2 lot. Maybe I wanted to have a scalp and a runner. So I wanted to move to break even when the scalp hits its target. Maybe we're using 5, 8 ticks for a scalp. But then let the second one run and we can optimize for that as well. We'll get to that in a second. Now over here, I might say, okay, well, I've got a 9. Do I want anything less than a 9? Well, probably not, right? That's about as low as I want to go. 918. Okay, that's fine. Now the second one, I don't want to end up with a 1210 here. I want this one to be higher. So what I would do, this is just me, right? This is how I would do it. I would use the minimum here as 18 so I don't get any mismatch there, and I would enable that optimization. How about the RSI? Well, no reason not to, right? 4 might be a little bit, oh, shit, why not, right? We can use 4. Now, do I want it to go in steps, right? I have choices here. Do I want it to go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It's going to slow it down a little bit. So one choice you might say is, okay, well, I want you to go in intervals of 2, right? It'll speed up the optimization process. And again, this is a starting point. You say, okay, is it getting much better, right? Do I want to go back and go to a 1 and see, oh, is a 5 going to be better? But again, you have that option here. I might do the same thing here. This one you might even take to 3. All right, just going to speed up that optimization process. And then for my trailing stop here, I've got a 50 period. Do I want it that much? Well, 50 to 100. Well, that's going to be my stop. So I definitely don't want 100. Well, I shouldn't say that. I personally wouldn't choose 100. 50, 55, what might be as much, because I remember I'm not using a stop, right? So I want this to be my exit. So I don't want something to run away from me. So here's an example here on the corner, if you can see that, right? I want it to be out here. I don't want to be, if it's a 50 or 100 is down here, I don't want to take that drawdown. I want you out here, out here. Right. So again, just making the point. So let's go to a 60, right? And I might do that in steps of 4. Right. So again, now if I were to run this optimization here, and I'll probably run it and we'll bring over something else in the background and maybe Erwin will take over. That's going to take maybe 5 minutes. Again, I'm giving it, this is, there's a lot of options here and I'm leaving much of this by default. If you want to really start fine tuning an algo that you're going to trade with real or prop or live or whatever the case may be, you might want to go back into these and really narrow these down a bit. Right. And say, okay, for a trailing stop, do I want a gap between 4 and 100 ticks? Maybe not, right? Maybe that's too big a range. Do I want a risk reward up to 10 on a trailing stop? Maybe not, right? Maybe I don't want to take it in those kind of steps either. So maybe I want this to be, for a trailing stop, 4. Again, just demonstrating what's here, right? You're not going to catch all of this. You're not going to remember all of this, but this is the kind of thing you start tweaking with when the work of designing an algo you're going to trade begins. This is just, we're just showing it to you. Okay, so now I'm going to close that. And now if I wanted to come back here, okay, I want to double check. I got RTH. I want to close at the end of the day. I want it to do nothing at the opposite signal. I could do some refinement here. Now look here, always use a stop loss. I don't want it to use a stop loss. I want the SMA to take me out. Use an optimize the ATM. Yes, I want to optimize the ATM because I want to see if there's a range here. I'm only doing a one lot. I want to see what that range looks like. Do I want to optimize the indicators? Yes, I do, because we just gave it those ranges. Do I want to optimize the trading hours? Which I could, but I don't, because if I'm in RTH, I don't want to optimize the hours. Optimizing the trading hours would be if I was using all, or if I went back here and said, oh, okay, well, I'm in Europe, right? So I like to trade the London Open. So maybe you're not going to trade the RTH session. Maybe you're going to trade 2, 3, 4, 5, or you're going to trade it until 11:30. Maybe you're in Europe and you trade from 2 to 11:30. Right? I'm in Texas, right? So for me, I want to see, can I make it profitable in RTH hours? Again, it's up to the individual. Again, no two traders are going to use it the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start this, but again, that's going to take 5 minutes. So I'm going to, while that's running, right now, you'll get this in real time. We do have a little bug on my machine, but you can get an idea here. It's just getting started. So it's going through all those parameters. I'm optimizing for net profit, although I have the option to optimize for all of these different variables. Right? Could be, you might be optimizing for drawdown, not necessarily net profit or daily net profit. Right? You've got all of these things that you can optimize for. Right? So don't people just habitually just go, oh, net profit. Well, that may not be what your focal point is. Often I'll optimize on K ratio because what I want is a smooth line. I don't want big drawdown. I don't want a big number in net profit with big drawdown, right? Particularly if you're a prop count. You want smooth transition. You want a smooth line in your equity curve. Well, this is going pretty fast. Now, note, I only have 14 days of data here, and that would not be a big enough sample size before I would put live money on it. Minimum would be 30 days. Or said differently, a minimum might be 100 trades. Well, here already, because this is I've got continuous here. I've already got 200 trades here, and it's optimizing here. Now, I won't make you sit through that, but before we're done here, I think this should be complete because it's doing a lot of processing here. There's a lot going on in the background as it's working through all of those parameters, trying to get a result. And I'm going to get 10 results when this is finished. And hopefully before the end of the webinar, I'll be able to show you that result. Now, while that's happening, let me bring over an optimized result. I think I can do this here while that's still going. Okay, so here's one, and I tell you, this is a good example of, oh, I think I got this. I was trying to just make the case that you go to YouTube and you type in day trading the S&P or the Y or whatever, right? Name the asset. You're going to get 10,000 different indicator combinations that are all the greatest combination in the history of trading, right? You've all seen them, right? This is a great way to come back and say, really, right? 99% win rate. Interesting. Well, let's test that. Well, and that was the foundation for what I started with here. Now, I will note here that I did make the change to range bars again because of the entry, right? Is at the close of the bar, right? So I want range bars if I'm trading this. That again, that's my personal preference. And I started looking at this and I started working with a MACD and a CCI. And then I was like, oh, okay, the result was okay, but I wanted to make it better. So then I added in the force because that's including volume. Now, this is ours, right? This is a generic MACD. This is the native Ninja CCI. This happens to be ours. This happens to be a TDI force index because I want to include some volume into the parameters here, and I know that the force is using volume. One thing you'll note here, if you start doing a lot of testing, you'll start to see the redundancy between indicators often, right? Is there a big difference? This is including volume. This is not. Is there a big difference between these two? It's not huge, right? Same with the CCI. This is a great way to be showcased the redundancy of many indicators, right? And you want to try and avoid that redundancy. And in actual fact, if I bring it up here in this algo, I took out the CCI. If I bring it over here, I think this is the one I did it. Right, I did. Right, so here's an example. Right, so I created this CCI. I saw this on YouTube. I was like, okay, well, let's test it. Right, so I put in the MACD difference. I put in the CCI. I then added the force just to see if I could improve it. Well, when I had the CCI in there, I didn't like it. Right, so if I put these back, right, the results were not as good. Once that calculates, should see this in real time, although a little bug in mine, so we're not sure. Okay, right. So there's, oh, Why? Well, this had been optimized, and when I went back and looked at it, the CCI values were too small. So I took out the CCI just to see, well, is that making it better? Right. So and that's a good example of the kind of thing you're going to do when you're designing an algo: better, worse. Right. Like you like at the eye doctor, right? Better A, better B. Well, that's a lot better, although I have some drawdown here to start. So when you're designing an algo and you get a result like that, well, I kind of want to go back and see what was going on there. Why did I have that drawdown there? Because it's pretty solid, right? Everywhere else, right? We got a little drawdown here. Those are about the same. Any algo is going to have drawdown, right? So you got to be prepared to deal with that. You can't expect just a straight line to the right, right? It's just the reality of it. Where people get into issue with it is like, oh shit, that blew up my prop account. So certainly for those that are just starting with this, likely, and most people, prop accounts, you're likely going to want, you know, the generalization, but likely you would start with micros, right? Just to get rolling here, get comfortable with this. Be my suggestion. Start with, well, certainly start with a little sim, right? And then do some micros. See how, if you're comfortable with. Does it need to be tweaked, refined? Do I need to change something? I will go back and look at the trades. What happened here? Now I did add a little bit more to this, right? Just to demonstrate here. I didn't like, so I went to the exit template and said, okay, I want to use our devil's friend, which is basically just an ATR. It's like a chandelier stop. All right, so I've got an ATR here, and I want that to be my exit. I don't want it to tell me what the stop is. I want the ATR to take me out of the trade so that I can get maximum bang for my buck. If I'm in this move here, I want to get that. And if I'm on the wrong side of it here, I want to be out quickly. Right side, wrong side. I want to be out of those. So with that said, right, so I ran the optimization here. I won't be able to show you here, but I ran it, and this is what I ended up with. Now, this is a 2-lot. Now, just to show you this, if I go here, I have the capability now, this is also a new feature, to optimize, if I'm in a 2-lot, the first one, just your scalp, the second one, or both of them, right? New feature, right, that he just added. So I can optimize here, and a couple of other changes we made. In the sample data, we moved it from 80 to 60 so to reduce some of the over optimization. Okay, how is it in the first 60% of the time period that we're analyzing, whether that's 30, 60, 90 days? How is it in the second 40%? All right. And that way you get more of a walk forward so you can see how is it doing in real time. Minimum generations would be 100, although if I was testing something on 90 days, right, I might, we have people doing 1,000 generations. But if that's the case, click start and, go play 18 holes of golf, right? It's going to take some time. All of this controllable. You might say, I want it to target a profit factor of 1.5. I want a win rate of 50%. That's what I want it to target. It may not be able to deliver that, but that's what I want it to target. I have the same capability here. All of this can be refined. These are all the indicators that can be optimized if I want to optimize them. Optimization isn't necessarily an improvement. It's just something to think about. Oh shit. Okay. Well, do I want that? I took out the CCI, so that's out. What Devil's Force? Do I want that in here? And here's my exit. I'm not using the SMA here. I'm using the Devil's Friend because that's an ATR multiple. It's like a chandelier stop. That's what I'm using. My point here is, again, I know I'm going quickly. You're not going to remember all this. I'm just trying to show you the amazing potential that is built into this in terms of what you can do with your own creativity and your own approach to the market. So here I get a pretty decent result on this. Let's go back to the ATM because right, the first thing I look at in any algo I'm looking at, what's the max drawdown? Right. Well, here, where's my max drawdown? Here it's 28.21. Okay, right. That might be a problem for a prop account, but he's in the reality of trading algos over a substantial amount of time. That's fairly reasonable. But if you're
Yeah,
in a
no,
prop account,
like we talked before, Sam, you probably would start in micros, right?
oh, absolutely, right.
And build
This
up
is
your
2-lot full
account.
size. Yeah.
Yeah, and build up your account before you switch to the
Yeah.
mini contracts, right?
Yeah, and this is a 2-lot full size YM, right? So
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
drawdown here is more substantial. If you're starting with this in micros, right, it's going to be very, very tolerable for your prop account drawdown restrictions. But I have all that capability here. This is what we ended up with. So the first one's got a target of 34 ticks. Second one, 99, right? Meaning, right, likely, right, more often than not, the trailing stop is going to take it out, which is what I want in this algo. Again, that's what I want. You might want something different. Stop loss, none. Not using a stop. I don't want it to be taking out early. I don't want it to find that best result. I want the ATR to take it out. And that's what I end up with. Now let's continue over to the next set of tabs. You've seen this, right? Again, this is just, you're going to have to experiment with this and play with it and get comfortable with it. Now, if we go over to Monte Carlo, this is not going to be a great example because I only have 14 days of data. But more typically, again, you'd have 30, 60, 90 days of data. But what we're demonstrating here, Monte Carlo, for those of you, most of you probably familiar with this, it's just randomly organizing all the trades, right? So we have in the white line the best case scenario. If we say, okay, I want you to completely randomly select the sequence of which of from when those trades happened, that's what you're seeing in the Monte Carlo. This is actually not a bad example, but it gives you an idea of the kind of range of capital that you would need, because in the worst case scenario here, we have a drawdown of about $2,500. Best case scenario on the upside, we have 12,000 in gains. But a nice tight consistent line with a tight cluster is what you're after. We can go over to reports here and say, okay, well, during the times of day, how did it look? Well, this is not bad. As I was referencing earlier, we want a tight cluster. So here, okay, I want to be out at noon, and it doesn't like 4:30 to 3 o'clock. Well, okay, now remember, that's the last 2 weeks. So if I make that change, so for example, I could come over here and say, okay, take out 12 and take out 4:30 and this, right? Now, that's going to change my result, right? Now, oh, just got better, right? We went up to 11.7. What happened to my drawdown, right? That's the first thing I look for. Okay, it's a little bit better. It was over 2 grand. Now it's at 17.05, right? That's what matters, right? What's the drawdown? I also want to always look at biggest winner, biggest loser, right, to see what that spread looks like. I like to see about 2 to 1, and I like my profit factor to always be over 1, right? So, but that, okay, that's a little heavy. But again, we're trading 2 lots on the full size YM, right? So, adjust accordingly. You'd need a, 150K prop account likely for something like this. Okay, so we've got that on the reports, but note what happened here. I lost the walk forward because now I've adjusted it. I made the change. So if I go back over to reports here and I look at this, I say, okay, well, that's pretty solid, right? Now, again, that's the last 2 weeks. That does not mean that's what you'll experience over the next 2 weeks. But we have a building block. I have a foundation to start with here. And again, could this be any simpler, right? I got a MACD difference. CCI is out of it, and I'm using this you could replace it with anything, RSI, Stokes, whatever indicator you like. I just wanted to include some volume, so I went to the force index, right, and took out the CCI. Simple SMA here, or EMA, excuse me, and then that's just an ATR on the stop, right? It's not rocket science, not a complex algo. We have people that have algos with over 100 conditions. I'm not exaggerating, because you can group conditions under, again, I can't even begin to get into some of the depth that's available to you, but we have different groupings. So you could say, if all of these conditions are available in this group, take the trade. Or I could, for example, I could say, okay, well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conditions here. I only want you to take a trade if at least 4 of these are present.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Basically, Sam, what we're trying to do with ASP is that no matter the strategy you are using or looking at, you should be able to reproduce it in ASP very quickly, and then, of course, see the results and optimize it and start live trading it.
Exactly, right. That's the power, right? And again, because we're going through it, we've got limited time here, and we're just kind of giving you a surface view of this. I know you're not going to remember all of this. Again, that's why we have those playlists, and you can just start dabbling with it. But something very, very simple as we created. Let me get this one. I think I can close this one. Now, if I come back here, you see this is the one we were working on before. This was the ES. So you see here, I go, oh, well, it got off to a pretty good start. There's 60%, but here's the final 40% walk forward. Oh, not so good, right? So I can look down here. Remember, as I mentioned to you, you're going to get multiple results based on the optimization that we did. So if you look here, you say on the first one, okay, is that the one I want? Do I want to organize these on net profit, or do I want to use drawdown? I got that. Or do I want to use a K ratio? Well, these are all pretty tight, right? So bottom line, okay, maybe I've got to start on something here, but that's going to need work. I've already optimized, so I'm going to need to add or subtract because there's no additional optimization I can do of what's here that's likely to make this better. So I'm back here going, what do I need to change? What do I need to add? Right, lots of things, lots of well, I mean, there's almost no limit to what you can do there. But my point being, okay, I got a decent start on this one, got a decent start on it, but it's not good enough to trade, right? So okay, that's back to the work, right? As Erwin said this to me early on, he said, just a reminder, algo trading is hard too. It is, right? You're going to have to refine and tweak these, but it's such a powerful tool. There's several different ways you can use this. I like to think of it this way. For many people, this can be an augmentation to what you're already doing. So maybe you let this run, 24/5, right? Maybe you're comfortable letting it run in micros overnight because you've done an optimization on all hours, and you're like, oh well, it's okay, it's good in London hours, not so good in the New York session. That's one thing to consider, and this can be an augmentation to what you're doing with your own manual trading. That's one possibility. Something else that we should know, excuse me, you can now run up to 10 different algos. So for them, they're giving a scenario. You've got 10 profit accounts. This is becoming more and more common, right? So people are copy trading multiple accounts. So your goal is maybe 300 on the day, but you're doing that across 10 accounts. Well, you could have that diversification with ASP running 10 different algos at the same time. Now, of course, you're going to have different prop accounts to make that happen. But at the God, they're giving them away now just to get you involved, right? So for a $25 Apex account, you can set up 10 of those and have all of those running in the background while you're doing your own manual day trading, and those can be there to augment your efforts. And it can be, again, 10 is a big number, but it could be, let's say you're running 4 different algos in the background, and one's price action, one's indicator based, one's footprint based. Fill in the blank. It's whatever you want it to be. And you might have different results on those for different times of day, but they can all be running at the same time while you're doing the trading you're already doing now. Just as an example of the kind of horsepower that's here to augment what you're already doing. This is a tool designed to get you better results, but it is just that. It is just a tool, and how you drive it, operate it, work with it, and implement it is going to ultimately define your results. Okay, that's a lot of me talking. Erwin, let me pass it over to you. Have something you'd like to add?
Yeah,
I
well,
caught you by surprise there.
No. I just want to recap, because there are other products out there, of course, to create your own algos in NinjaTrader, and even NinjaTrader comes with the strategy builder, right? But as far as we know, this is the only product which gives you real-time feedback on how you're progressing. It has a very visual user interface. You can see the optimizer, which will optimize your targets, your stop loss, your trailing stops, your indicator settings, the hours your algo could best trade. So it gives you a lot of feedback, and that will result in a much smoother way of designing your algos, because you get that instant feedback. I've been using other products in the past, but I was always creating a template here, saving it, then loading up the strategy analyzer, filling all the details. It was just very cumbersome, and it took a
And
long
slow.
time.
Slow,
It
yeah.
took a long time, and here it really allows you to just play with it and then quickly make a change, see if this is improve it or doesn't improve it. So it's more about being really developing your algo than waiting for the software or the process to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, we looked at the algo designer in this webinar, but I
Mm-hmm.
would like to remind you what Sam said in the beginning, that this comes with a NinjaTrader strategy,
Mm-hmm.
which allows you to trade the algo live or in sim or on your prop account, whatever you want. So it's just not just designing the algo; it's also live training the algo that you can do. And if there are any questions, then please put them in the chat. We will try to answer them, of course. I already saw some of them coming by, which we answered. But if you have more, then yeah, just ask
Let's
us.
do that. Let's make it open up to questions. I was just demonstrating here. If I have an algo here that I like, I want to save it. I'm going to trade it here. I'm just today's webinar. So if I brought up Ninja, I brought up the strategy. I'm just going to load the ASP trader, and then I'm going to load the ES10R2MA. Just loading the file. Then that's in your strategy analyzer, and you hit go and enable it,
Yep.
and it's off and running. I was just showing you how that's done. I will leave this here in the background. We are going to offer a 25% discount to any of you that are interested today. That'll be good for till the 21st. Just as a thanks for investing your time today with us. And with that, why don't we open it up to questions here? I'm sure there's going to be many because I know I went through a lot of that very fast here. So maybe Erwin, you can help me with some of these.
Yeah, sure. I have here one. Is it possible to import an existing strategy that you can optimize? No, that's not possible. But it should be very easy to just recreate it in ASP, and then it's in ASP, and you can optimize it and tweak it as you like. Other question, once you save the algorithmic settings in the ASP and we have optimized it with specific time frames, is it still necessary to limit or schedule the periods where the statistics do not favor you? Not sure I quite understand this.
Where's that one? Let me see.
Oh, it's in the chat.
I see it. Specific is it still necessary to limit or schedule the periods where the statistics don't favor you? I think. Well, no. Okay, so I think what he may be asking is if you've limited the times based on the ATM, the strategy is going to mimic whatever you saved in the designer. So if you're telling it to only trade European hours, so from 2 to 11:30, that's the only time the strategy is going to actually execute in the time. I think that's what he's asking. So you don't need to worry about those times where you've told it not to trade. It'll do that automatically.
Yeah, if it was not what your question was, note that we have
That's Alex.
Yeah, Alex, we have a free Discord, so you can always ask us again there, and we will happily try to answer it. Another one, do you have examples using market structure? I think we do in the Discord. We have a couple of them. Basically, market structure is just an indicator, and if it exposes plots, like sample break of structures or fair value gaps, then you can use them in ASP and create your own algo based on market structure.
That's a good point, right? Remember when we started, anything that gives you a parameter, you can use, right? So it might be, okay, it might be, I don't want it to take a break of structure. I want it to wait for the retrace. So you might say, okay, I want, if a break of structure happens, right? Assumption being a break leads to a retrace. Okay, then I want the next 5 swing period, 50% retrace or enter at the fair value gap if there is one, right? So all of that capability is available to you as long as there's a parameter, right? There just has to be a parameter. And one thing that'll be, let me get rid of that here. One thing that'll be your best friend if you're working with this is, here, let me do it this way because this is how I do it, right? So you're going to want to use oh, fuck me, hang on.
The data box window.
I'm trying to get the data box right there. There we go. Right. So here, right. So I can look at what's happening here. That's where I'm going to see. So for example, if often indicators will have a 1 or a 0, right? For trend or no trend or, squeeze or no squeeze or whatever the case may be. I can look over here and say, okay, when those conditions are present, oh, okay, now I can just write that into my algo. Okay, well, if it's, a conditions 1 for a trend up, okay, if the 1, take the trade, right? If it's -1, take the short.
Yep.
This will be a place you're going to go to often to say, okay, what am I doing here? Well, where is it? Okay, if that's okay. So and then you want to go back and check it, right? Okay, so here I'm long here. I'm getting out here because that's where it broke the SMA, and that's the first trade. I think that's the right one we have. I think so, right? But the data box is going to be your best friend. So if I were to put market structure on here, again, all those parameters, just right click and you'll see them.
So Brian is asking, can I use plots from any custom indicator I have already created? Yes, you can, Brian. If your indicator exports plots, then you can use it. Yep. MG asks if it's possible to optimize the data series. No, that's not possible. We don't think it's possible at all. That the NinjaTrader does not really allow us to do so.
Yeah, that would be what? How would you do 10
it
range,
would
11 range, 12 range, 13 range?
yeah, exactly. It has to load all the data. So no, that is not possible at the moment. But yeah, who knows in the future what NinjaTrader will allow us to do with the software, because it's a nice feature to have indeed. Alex says thank you. Well, thank you, Alex.
Yeah. Okay.
Brian, are we also able to see the code that gets generated? Well, the code there is no code generation below it. The algo gets saved in a file, which is an algo file, which is just JSON. You can open it up in a text editor if you want, but it's not code, and it gets loaded inside our own trader strategy, and that will execute the template. So there is no coding which you can see. No.
I should note here, if you guys are seeing this, I've got 30. I thought I had 14. This is 30 days of data, which is my default. If I'm going to test an algo, I'll start with 30 days. If I like it, I'll go to 90. But then I know I'm going to have to let it sit for a while and do that back test to go on 90 days of data. If you go to tick replay, it's going to be it'll be a little more precise, but it's going to take even longer, right? 90 days of tick data at a 12 range, that's a lot of bars, right? So that you got to be prepared for that time lapse. But 30 days of data, this is pretty good, right? Win rate is 65%. Again, what do I focus on? Always, always, always. What's the max drawdown? Max drawdown. Right.
And one of the things most people don't know is that in the data series, you cannot just say, well, load the last 30 days of data. You can also set a beginning point. So you could say, well, I want to look at the 1st of June, for example, till the end of June, and have those 30 days data. So that's also something you can use to
right. So I mean, there. I mean, you do it right there, right? You're still 30 days of data, but let's go back 30 days. How was it the 60 days back?
No, you can say load data based on, and then it says days. And if you change it to custom, then you can select the date range. But maybe that's something for a future video. Pete is asking, can you use the change of color of the indicator output? No, we can only use the value of a plot at the moment. So if it has a plot with the value, then we can use it, but we cannot use color changes or drawings made by indicators.
Oh, you could probably approximate it with something like the devil's pitch, right? So the angle of the slope of it. I mean, you can get pretty close to that. Might have to get a little bit more creative with that. But I mean, these are like this EMA is just changing based on the slope, right? That's what.
Yeah.
And above below, right? That's all it's doing, above below.
Okay,
so
Alex,
that's why above.
Alex is asking about the VIP channel. Yeah, when you purchase ASP, you get access to our VIP channel, and in there, we and customers share their information and algos.
Their algos.
And Alex is asking, do you offer classes on how to solve some of the challenges we might be facing? We do not really do classes. We have done webinars, just like this one. And of course, you can just ask any question if you have problems or wondering how something works. Then
and
just that ask can be a question. And, yeah.
I was gonna say that can be a good topic for a video follow up, right? So so you want to post that kind of thing in the Discord, so that the entire team will see that. And if we have a quick answer, great. If we don't, then that's just the kind of thing that I might do a video on and say, well, here's a common problem that traders are coming, running into, and here's some ideas about how to work around that. So post the questions if we get those, and often that's where new features come from. People say, well, God, it'd be great if it did this. Erwin will look at that and say, actually, that's not a bad idea. We could do that. Yeah. That's, I mean, probably 40% of what you see in this version is come from suggestions from members saying, be great if it did this, great if it did that. And then, Erwin goes and does his magic. And before you know it, we've got a new version. And again, this is a beta version. There will be refinements to this, additions to this. We've already got a few things in mind that we'd like to add to it. And of course, that all is delivered to you at no additional cost. So you'll see this version once it's completed, and then likely new versions coming along as well. Can you have two groups of conditions? One where conditions must have.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
So and I see MG and Ray Meeks commenting that you can optimize time series in entity. I know it's possible in the strategy analyzer, but NinjaTrader didn't open it up for developers. So even though they can do it, they didn't provide any ways, as far as I know, that we could make use of it. So okay, so those are the questions.
There's 1 hour that we just hit our 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
So just in closing here, just for any of you that are interested, right? We're giving you until the 21st here, so a pretty good window of time, giving you a week. Algo 25, right? If you are interested in making that investment, enter that discount code, you'll get 25% off. That's 1 designer and 2 strategy traders. Right?
Yeah.
So
you
design your heart's content, right? You don't need more than 1 designer.
No, and you can run the strategy on two different PCs. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks to all. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us and letting us show this to you. We're kind of loose on the structure of our webinars, but we try and get as much content to you as we can. And then again, you have the playlist, you have the Discord. Ask lots of questions. We're pretty good about responding to them as we see them, and then you've got 3 people that are available to respond. So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up here and say thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the Discord showcasing some of your great algos that you've created. All right. Thanks all. We'll catch you on the next one.